invite you to say a word with me tonight, out loud, on the count of 3. I'll put the word up on the screen. Unsurprisingly, it's the word dementia. Okay, are you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Dementia. There's so much power in what you just did. Nothing is going to change until we talk about it. For some of you, this might be the 20th time, 2000th time you've said the word dementia. You know people with dementia. You love people with dementia. Maybe you've lost someone from dementia. Or maybe you fear the diagnosis of dementia yourself. And for you, hearing that I'm going to talk about dementia, you feel it in your heart. You feel a sense of pain or loss. And I just want to take a second and respect that feeling. Nothing that I say today is intended to minimize that. I feel you. I see you. I love people. I've lost people with dementia myself. But I want to invite you to consider that maybe there's more to dementia than just loss and pain. For some of you, this is the first time you've said dementia. You don't have much experience with it. You don't know anybody. Let me rephrase that. You don't know anyone with dementia yet. Because according to the Alzheimer's Association, 1 out of 9 people over the age of 65 are living with dementia. If you look around the room, it's kind of a lot of people. And the same statistics tell us that in 2050, the cases of worldwide dementia will have tripled from the cases in 2020. Dementia is here. It's in our communities, it's in your neighborhood, it's in our cities. So as we talk about dementia today, know that it does affect you, even if you might not have personal experience with it. So for those of you who don't know much about dementia, let me explain a few things first so that you know what I'm talking about. Dementia is not a single disease. It's a condition. It's a group of, we call it an umbrella term that describes many different diseases that cause cognitive changes in a person. These cognitive changes can include things like short-term memory loss, disorientation, difficulty with reasoning and problem solving, and challenges with communication. These cognitive changes in a person affect their ability to care for themselves. So it's hard for them to go throughout normal life and keep up their normal routines. Dementia is also progressive, which means that it gets worse over time. So those cognitive changes get worse, but also they have more difficulty caring for themselves, or other people start to step in. There's also a few things you might think you know about dementia that might not be true, so let me address some of those. The first is that dementia is not a normal part of aging. Although it's more common in older people, it's not something to be expected as you age. Similarly, dementia is not just an old person disease. Many people are diagnosed with dementia before the age of 65, and we call this young onset dementia. And finally, dementia is not just an end-of-life condition. Many people, especially living with Alzheimer's disease, can live with symptoms of dementia for 20 years or more. People are not just dying from dementia, they're living with it. And many people who are living with dementia will describe an immense sense of loss. But that loss is not always specifically tied to the disease itself. It's more about how we respond to it. Now, we see loss from the very beginning of a condition. When a person is going to the doctor because they think that there might be something going on with them, this loss is very present to them. I talked to a man in Washington State last year when I was speaking at a conference, and he came up to me later and he said, "I think I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 6 weeks ago." I said, what do you mean you think? He said, "Well, when I've been to months of appointments, hours spent doing testing and brain scans and all of these appointments. It took 9 months to get to the neurologist in the first place. He never told me what was wrong with me. But when I got home, I looked on my chart and it said the word Alzheimer's disease. Does that mean I have dementia?" Unfortunately, this is a common experience for many people with dementia. From the very beginning of their journey, doctors, the people that they're entrusting their care, can't even look them in the eyes and say, "You have dementia." So from the beginning, they lose the opportunity to understand what's happening to them. They lose the option of asking questions, and they lose any semblance of control of their situation. But this loss, unfortunately, comes much closer to home. As a speech-language pathologist, I counsel a lot of friends and family of my patients with dementia, and one of the most common questions I get asked is, why should I visit them if they won't remember that I came? Let me translate that for you. If they're not able to recall the details of my visit, they're not really worth my time. They forfeit their place in my life. This loss continues. We perpetuate short-term memory loss by removing opportunities for them to have memories at all. I also see this loss in care communities. I've spent a decade working in skilled nursing facilities, assisted living, and I work amongst some really amazing people that are doing really hard work. But in these facilities, there are policies in place that have really good intentions. These policies are to keep people safe, to make sure that people underneath their roof are protected. But what ends up happening when we prevent harm is that we actually create loss. Because we live in such a litigious society, so many facilities are just worried about what could potentially go wrong. What could happen? Could they fall? Could someone get sunburned if they go outside? Could they wander off? And so we protect people from falling by confining them to wheelchairs, which then creates muscle weakness and eventually loss of mobility. We put alarms on doors because we're afraid that they're going to wander or get out and get lost. But then they lose the opportunity to feel the sun on their face. We tell them, no, don't get up, just sit right there, I'll do everything for you. We insist on over-helping them out of the goodness of our hearts, but then they lose the opportunity to try. But one of the biggest losses I see is out in our societies, in our cities. Many people with dementia are made to feel invisible. And it's not just people with dementia, it's their caregivers too. Because according to the Alzheimer's Association, 11.5 million people in our country are providing caregiving services to their friends or family at home. And many of these people feel trapped, not by just the burden of caregiving, but out of fear. Fear of what could happen when they go outside of their doors into the rest of the world. They're trapped by feelings of shame, of just fears of complete confusion about how to navigate the world when someone that they love so much could potentially act a little strange. Someone else could perceive that they're different. And this loss, guys, is huge. It's tragic. Just a few months ago in the state of Kentucky, a man living with dementia and his wife went to a store together. She stopped to talk to a friend, as she should. Many caregivers don't have many opportunities for socialization. While she was talking to her friend, he went and checked out with their cart. And because there was beer in the cart, the cashier asked him to see his ID. But he's living with a form of dementia that specifically impacts his ability to communicate and his ability to understand what other people are saying. And over the next few minutes, the police were called. He was body slammed to the ground and punched 6 times. This is the world people with dementia and their caregivers are living in. So you might be thinking, like, there's got to be a better way. And honestly, I've seen it. There is. Last year, I had the opportunity to participate in 2 events that really changed my life and my perspective about how people with dementia could live. And the first, I went to the Netherlands. I went to a place called the Hogevik It is the world's first dementia village. I encourage you to look up more about this, but essentially this is a little village for people with moderate to severe dementia. There's a grocery store, a salon, theaters, there's outdoor spaces, there's tons of homes, and people can go where they please. And the people who work there provide support to them, just the right amount. And as a speech-language pathologist, when I toured this village, it's been ingrained in me to look at every environment and find all the things that could go wrong, all the safety risks. And when I was at the Hogevik, I saw second-story balconies. I saw uneven cobblestone pathways. I saw a pond in the middle of a courtyard. There were absolutely risks. But here in this village, they valued independence, joy, over safety. Safety is not always the most important thing because it can create loss. The second thing that I did was an event called Walking the Talk for Dementia, where myself and 75 people from all over the world walked the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And many of these people walking with me were living with dementia. The rest of us were people who worked in dementia care in some capacity. And what connected us all is that we were all passionate about changing the way people with dementia experience the world in a positive way. There were certainly risks on this trail. We hiked 6 to 8 miles a day. There were lots of things that could have gone wrong. And you know, some of these people with dementia, they needed some support along the way. They might need a hand to hold or a reminder of what my name was or a car to cool off in. But you know what the interesting thing was is that I did too. I needed some of those same things. And the experience that I had, and many of these people with me, my friends with dementia, we had very similar experiences. We supported each other in all the right ways. They were allowed to take risks. They were allowed to move freely through their environment. So how do we do this? How do we bring this closer to home? How do we change from loss and taking things away from people with dementia to maybe giving them opportunities, respect, joy? I think first it could start in doctors' offices. Doctors can give people with dementia the respect of looking them in the eye and giving them a diagnosis. They can give them the opportunity to ask questions and to be a participant in planning for their future. I think family members, friends, can give people with dementia the opportunity to continue to be in their lives, to give them connection and socialization, and even reminding them of who they were, even when they can't recall it themselves. I think also we can give people in care communities more independence. We need to reconsider if safety is above all the most important thing. And I think as a society, we can give people with dementia the gift of visibility. And that's what I want to start with right here in this room tonight. But first, I want to specifically talk to the young people in the room. I'm going to include myself in that category. Us young people are really good at sharing our struggles, of being vulnerable. We have changed the way that mental health is looked at in this country. We have changed the stigma. We are asking, maybe demanding support. More than any generation before, we are using creativity and clear communication about what we need. And when people are neurodivergent, they are a little different than we might expect, we advocate for them. So what better generation than ours to better the lives of people with dementia? Because those conversations and that level of respect is not being given to people with dementia at this point in time. So, in this room tonight, we're going to start changing this stigma that exists and give people with dementia more visibility. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to say the word dementia. We're going to say it so that it's no longer something to be ashamed of. We're going to say it so that it's no longer hidden. We're going to say it so that people actually have the opportunity to ask for help or to share their story. So I'm going to invite you to say this word with me again at the count of 3, but this time I want you to feel the power behind it. 1, 2, 3, dementia. Use this talk as an excuse this week to say the word dementia in a space where it's not typically said. Thank you.